conversations that you're actually having are having an impact on your thinking, your actions, and subsequently the results. Okay, so if you're having conversations, as I stated in my previous lesson, where the conversations is negative, toxic, gossipy, all those conversations that really amount to nothing but negativity, it's actually affecting your performance, it's affecting your brain, it's affecting your feelings, it's creating procrastination, it's limiting your capacity, it's making you live in fear because you're putting poison in your brain. And so I see a lot of great people do a lot of great work, and all of a sudden they're not getting the results and the benefits, and they're feeling angry and upset. And when you look closely at the data, they're having these conversations where they don't need to have these conversations, and all they're really doing is they're putting poison in their brain. And that poison is actually so powerful, it's affecting your performance in every aspect. Learning isn't just about learning and changing your minds, it's a lifestyle change. In the garden the other day, I wasn't doing any gardening, but I was just in the garden, and I could hear someone arguing, and I could hear someone screaming and arguing, and I'm thinking to myself, what's happening? I thought this person was going to kill someone. And at one stage, it was coming from a sound over the fence, and this guy started to get really, really aggressive, and you could see he's getting louder and swearing, and it sounded like a full-on argument, but it sounded like he was talking on the phone. And anyway, so I thought, okay, I just thought, let me have a look. So I looked over the fence and I had a look. And what was interesting, the person was not on the phone, the person was not arguing with anyone, but he was having a self-conversation as if he was arguing with someone, and he was swearing and angry, and he actually saw me. He actually looked at me and he saw me. And I said to him, are you okay? Sorry, I just heard the noise and you were screaming. And so he apologized and so on. And so we started to have this conversation. There's nothing wrong with self-conversations. In fact, self-conversations are really good for the brain as long as it's positive. As long as the conversations that you're having about yourself are positive about yourself. Whether you're having a conversation with somebody else, or whether you're listening to a conversation, or whether it's the voice that's talking with you, there's still conversations. The self-conversation is just as important. If you're putting in negative conversations through your own conversation, your self-conversation, you're putting poison in your brain. You're actually hurting your brain. And those self-conversations can be just as worse because your subconscious brain is getting angry. You should have seen how angry this person was. He was agitated. He was a little bit embarrassed because I saw him. I said, listen, don't be embarrassed. People talk to themselves when they're angry. So it's okay. But the issue here is you're putting poison in your brain. And so if you look at my video yesterday, I had a list of the positive topics, which is what I call the superfood for your brain, and the negative topics, which is what I call the poison for the brain. The conversations you're having are really crucial in how you will perform, okay, in the outlook of your life. In fact, I would say this: how you're living your life right now is the result of the conversations you've been having. And it's the results of the top 5 conversations you're having. Those conversations that you're having, if the negative portion of those conversations are above 20-30%, then that's affecting your brain, that's affecting the results, it's affecting your mood, it's creating anxiety, it's creating depression, it's creating anger, fear, victim, all those things. That's what you're pouring into your brain, and it's affecting your results. And I say this to my students. If these conversations, and we've worked out a calculator now, if your positive percentage of conversations is above 80%, then you're doing really, really well. I want to try and get it to 90% and eventually to 100%. I see people, they're negative, poisonous conversations that they're having with others, that they're listening to, that they're also saying to themselves, is above 80% negative. There is no way, it doesn't matter how many courses you do, it doesn't matter how many mentors or how many coaches, you can actually go and see Tony Robbins. It doesn't matter. You're not going to change, because these conversations won't change until you deliberately make that change. Don't underestimate the conversations you're having, and especially the self-conversation, because when you're angry, when you're upset and you're talking, or you're angry with someone and you're talking to yourself, even if you're saying the stuff in your brain, you're actually inviting the negative poison conversations. And so I have a task, I get my students to do this task, where they spend 7 days documenting all the conversations, and then they tally it up, and the percentages will tell us where they're at and where they're not. And a lot of times those negative conversations are above 80 to 90%. And that's insane. And that's why people have depression and addictions and alcohol problems, and they feel bad and angry, and they go into victimhood mentality and so on. And that cycle becomes a habit. And if you don't break that cycle, it doesn't matter what anyone tells you. It doesn't matter what you do in your life. Not much will change. Even if you do my courses, these conversations don't change. You won't change. The good thing is, I'm going to show you how to change this. I'm going to show you the process to change the conversations that you're having. And yes, you may not be popular, but hey, you owe it. The only person that you trust, and the only person that's guaranteed to never let you down is your personal best version. And they're waiting for you. So you have to do whatever you can to go and get them. Conversations that you're having that are hurtful, and you don't even think they're hurtful because you're getting a cheap dopamine, they're hurtful, they're hurting you, they're making you feel miserable, and there's a reason for that. But that can be changed.